Hey folks, welcome aboard another live Q&A. Just as usual guys, if you can just stick up a little comment there for me as you come in, that'd be fantastic, just to see who's online, know who I'm talking to, makes it a little bit easier I think. Audrey, how are you? Good evening. How are things? All good after your workouts the last few evenings, yeah? Feeling good? Different scenario tonight, the Q&As are a bit different to going live, jumping about with the workouts. Usual crack guys, I'm going to take 5 or 6 questions and just work through them. So, might be a few minutes, there's a couple of good ones in this evening. A couple of good ones to work through, and just a nice little mix in it there as well. Feeling good, yes, excellent, great job, happy days. Monday was a tough session. Just going to give it a couple of minutes guys, see if we get a few more on. Don't know what to expect. It's raining outside, I think, is it? Maybe not, but it's not as nice as it was the last few evenings, so it might not be as quiet this evening. Might get a few on, hopefully. Hard to call. So again, guys, just as you come in, will you just throw up a little comment there, just say hello, let me know who's on, and we'll start working through our week questions then. But I like to know who I'm talking to. Makes life a little bit easier for me. Quite enough so far anyway. We'll give it another minute or two, and then I'm just going to get cracking into it. All good? Yes? Happy days? Everyone going through the week okay? Lockdown treating you okay? Nothing too crazy in it? Staying sane? It's not easy, is it? It's getting tough at this stage. First few weeks weren't too bad. It's getting a little bit tougher now. Caroline, how are you? Welcome aboard. Yeah, it's getting a little bit tougher at this stage now. I found last week was challenging enough. This week I've been mad busy. I'm up the walls busy, so it's not too bad. But yeah, it's getting a little bit more challenging. Definitely keep active, guys. Keep your training up. Keep moving. Get the steps up. It's all good. Good for the head as well as for the body. Numbers are jumping up there, guys. If you just want to throw up a little comment as you come in, just check yourselves in. That'd be great. Just so I have an idea of who I'm talking to, who I'm connecting with, who we're engaging with. That would be fantastic. And then we'll get cracking. We can answer a few wee questions. Patricia, how are you? Long time no see. Hope you're keeping well. Getting through the old lockdown. This evening's question is a little bit different style to the last evening, folks. What I am doing here, last week I did an Instagram Q&A, which is just very brief. You put up your question, they can answer, they throw in a question, I just answer it in type text, so you don't really have much room to answer it. It's very short and sharp. So what I've done is I've taken kind of the best of those questions and brought them into tonight so that I can answer them a little bit more in depth. And then there was a few conversations I had with actual clients over the last week or so that threw up a couple of interesting bits, so I'm just going to throw those in as well. Hey Breda, how are you? So I'm just going to throw those in this evening as well, just actual conversations from clients that I'm currently working with at the minute, and I think those conversations might be relevant to a lot of people watching because the clients I'm working with are quite new and they're almost beginner level, not quite beginner level, but they're not very, very advanced. So the questions they're asking, normally I always find if one person has a question, there's probably 10 more people that want the same answer. So that's why I've decided to bring all that stuff into the Q&A this evening. And just as we go forward, guys, if you have any questions you want answered, or you know, it can be done anonymously, you don't even have to, I'm not going to read out your name or anything, but if you have any questions you want answered, shoot me on an email, shoot me on a private message, and I'll include them in one of the weeks as we go. There's a bit of a backlog of questions at the minute, but we will get to them one of the weeks. Okay, I think we'll get cracking, guys. If there's anybody else, just as you come in, will you just throw up a comment and let me know you're here, and yeah, we'll just get moving. So, first thing this evening, this question was taken from the Instagram Q&A. So, what are your thoughts on intermittent fasting? That was the first question. What are your thoughts on intermittent fasting? First thing, I guess, is we've got to cover here what intermittent fasting is, because I know there's going to be a lot of people watching going, what is that? What's he talking about? Intermittent fasting is effectively eating within a certain window of time, normally kind of a 6 to 8 hour time frame. So you might get people that have their food within maybe 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock or 12 o'clock to 8 o'clock. That's kind of their window of eating. So that's what intermittent fasting is. It's not that it's cutting out foods or anything like that. You've still got your huge selection of foods, but it's more that it's only within this time restriction. That's how intermittent fasting works. Back in the old days, back in my days, they say, we would have called it skipping breakfast. That's what we would have called it. People get so bogged down, I think, in terms nowadays. Fancy terms like intermittent fasting, and that sounds great. What's that? So this is the question that came in, what's your thoughts on it? And it was from somebody that was effectively looking to lose weight. Hey Fergal, welcome aboard. So it was somebody who was looking to lose weight. My response to her was, it's great if that's what you want to do, but it's not a magic formula. People seem to think intermittent fasting, oh, that sounds brilliant. That's the new thing on the block. I wonder what that is. All it is it's putting you in a calorie deficit. The same as every other weight loss method. It's putting you in a calorie deficit because you're skipping one meal of the day. That's effectively what's happening. So you're taking in less calories over the course of a day. It's not that it's the magic of eating between these times. It's not that. It's that the fact that your overall calories for the day are coming down because you're eating less food. Hi Sharon, how are you? So I hope that makes sense to you guys. So that was the first thing I wanted to clear up on intermittent fasting. That was the question. I'm not for it, I'm not against it. I think if it works for you, if you enjoy doing it, if you're in a calorie deficit, you're losing weight with it, and you find it okay and it's manageable and sustainable for you, blast away. Other people will find it difficult. If it's something you find torturous, don't do it because you won't stick with it forever. There's other ways of putting yourself into a calorie deficit without doing intermittent fasting. So that's my thoughts on it. If it works for you, do it. And if it doesn't, don't. But there's nothing particularly wrong with doing it as far as I'd be concerned. One thing I would say, guys, just on the whole thing about skipping breakfast, because this is one that comes up time and time again as well. With the whole issue of breakfast, I have no major problem with people not eating breakfast. It's kind of debated to death at this stage, but my thoughts on it are everybody's different. Some people function well in the morning, other people don't function well. But the one thing I would say that's key is when you do break the fast, whenever that is, be it 7 a.m. or be it 12 o'clock in the day, whenever you do break the fast, that it's a good source of fuel, that you're getting good food into your body. So not ideally starting with Cocoa Pops or sugar going straight into the system early on. I typically look for protein, I look for formed carbohydrates. So that's how I would start the day. Get a good source of fuel in, start the day well, the day tends to flow from there, okay? So again, it's not necessarily about the time, it's about the type of food that's going in to break that fast initially. Hope that's making sense. Again, guys, as we go, if there's any questions, you can leave a comment there and I'll try and work through them as we go. Because I know some of this stuff is new to people and I know some of it can be a little bit overwhelming at times. And if I'm not making sense, slow me down and ask questions. Okay, let me get some water. Are you all with me so far? You are. I haven't lost you. You're still with me. Okay. That's the first question. So that was intermittent fasting. Second question this evening, it's actually not really a question, it was a discussion I had with one of my clients from the online course. So she was asking about her energy levels because, well, it was more so a comment. She just said, I feel like I have so much energy. Like, why? You know, that was effectively what she was saying. So the reason for that, again, is your food choices dictate so much of what's happening within your body and within your life. So it's everything from energy levels to concentration levels, to even things like your skin and your hair and your nails. So all of these things are affected by your food choices. Up to that, I would say she probably didn't have the best diet ever. There was quite a bit of heavily processed foods in there. Now we've changed that. So she's eating a lot of whole foods at the moment. Whole foods, what's happening now is her body is getting flooded with nutrients. So there's a lot of green veg and stuff like that. So always, I look for as much as possible whole foods, natural foods, keeping the heavily processed stuff to a minimum. There's always going to be a certain amount of them in there because that's just the world we live in at the moment. There's always going to be that certain amount in there. But if it's, for a lot of people at the moment, it's most of their diet. That's why they're low in energy levels. Because if we look at it logically, whole foods, loads of nutrients, loads of goodness in them, but they also tend to be low calorie. So you can actually eat quite a bit of them and they fill you up. And that's what I put them in. Hi Valerie, how are you? That's why I love getting as much whole foods as possible in there. Whereas your heavily processed foods, very little nutritional value in them, And the other side of it is they tend to be quite high calorie. And again, they bring on cravings. So the more of those sugars and salts and whatever that are going in there, the more you're going to tend to want. So they're a lot easier to overeat. So you're going to find that if there's a lot of those in your diet, your overall calories are shooting up. Whereas if we can keep mainly to whole foods, fruit and veg, and as I always say, did it grow itself or did it move at some stage? If the answer is yes, it's probably a whole food. If it's not, and you're going, where did that come from and what actually is it in terms of heavily processed stuff? Not so good, okay? So that's the question in relation to her energy levels. It's just that she's getting better food into the body, but she's also moving more as well, and energy generates energy. So once you get doing a little bit of training, you'll be surprised at how much more energy you actually have as well. So it's all that stuff combining, I guess. Okay? Question number 3. This was one from the Instagram Q&A as well. Is walking enough for muscle strength or should I be doing weights? Is walking enough for muscle strength or should I be doing weights? Okay, I would say everybody should be looking to get some form of resistance training in there. I'm a huge fan of resistance training. In terms of muscle strength, muscular endurance, yes, get some resistance training in there if you can. Doesn't necessarily have to be lifting weights. It can be even bodyweight stuff, which everybody is nearly at the minute because we're doing home workouts. But bodyweight stuff, push-ups and squats and lunges and all that stuff, fantastic. But not just in terms of muscle strength, especially as we get older, looking at things like bone density, preventing osteoporosis, really, really important in that regard as well. So I would say definitely, if you can, get doing some sort of weight. even if it's your own body weight. Resistance training, fantastic. Okay? Can I leave it at that? Can I move on? Next question? Flying through them, flying through. Again, guys, if you have any questions, throw them up. Yeah, we'll get to them. I'm just conscious, again, I don't like taking too long because I don't want to take up too much of your time. But again, if you have any questions, leave them up. If there's any you want to send to me in private, do that as well, and I'll include them next week. All right. Question number 4. Again, it was a discussion. It was a discussion more than a question. The first week of the online course, this client had said to me she was running and she was finding it very, very difficult. She couldn't get oxygen into her lungs. She was saying she was really, really puffed out after even 2-3 minutes. And how do we get around that? So what I was saying to her was, I think everybody that has ever done running has experienced this at some point, and we still do to a certain extent. When you start off, there's nearly always a point where after 4 or 5 minutes, it feels really, really difficult. Really difficult. But my advice to her was, if you push through that, another 5 minutes down the road, you'll find that it's a lot more comfortable and you get your second wind. So she came back to me a week later and she said, oh, I did that. Guess what? Around 5k. She got around 5k. She was absolutely thrilled with herself. And I was delighted for her as well, because sometimes it's a little bit of a mental thing. It's just pushing through that little barrier initially when it feels like it's too tough, when it feels like you need to stop. Pushing through it. Keep going. 5 minutes down the road, get your second wind. Feels a lot more comfortable. So that's just on that. If any of you are running, if you're starting out running, if you're hitting that point where a few minutes in, it's easier to stop, you need to be mentally strong. You just need to push through that. Once you get through that barrier, you'll fairly start clocking up the kilometers. I always think, if you can do 3k, you can do 10k. The first 3 is probably the hardest. But once you get to there, you're laughing. All right. I'm going to take 2 more questions. 2 more. And again, if you have any questions, leave a comment. Throw them up. The next one was another discussion with a different client. It was around bloating and stomach pains. So when she signed up with me, we had an initial consultation and she told me that she was feeling quite bloated, regularly gets cramps and pains in her stomach. So I had a suspicion it was down to her diet, which effectively it was in the end because we solved the problem. But she had a very carb heavy diet. And again, I'm not knocking carbs here. They're an important part of every diet, but it's the right amounts, I suppose, moderation and the right times. She was pretty much loading up on carbs every meal. She loved her pastas, loved all that sort of stuff, but it wasn't doing her stomach any good. So I changed her diet completely. We brought those down. She was eating a lot more fruit and veg now, and it was amazing. She came back to me a week later, and again, she was saying the difference has just been phenomenal, because she said that all that week she hadn't experienced any pains at all, and she said it was the first time in a year that she's actually gone that amount of days in a row without experiencing anything. So your food choices, guys, make a massive, massive difference. But again, look, I'm kind of identifying the problem with her, but for somebody else it might be something different. It could be intolerances or something like that. But just be very aware of how your body reacts to different foods and how it responds to different foods, because we all respond in different ways. So you've got to be conscious of your own body as well and how it responds. And sometimes it takes a little bit of experimentation as well, trying different things out. How does that respond to that? How does it respond to this? Might be different things, and you'll start eliminating stuff sometimes as well. Okay, so that was just on that. And finally, last one this evening. You're all very quiet, guys. You're all very quiet. If you have any questions, leave them up there. I feel like I'm talking away here to myself, but hopefully somebody's getting something from it. Okay, one more. This one is another kind of common one, I guess. Again, it's another discussion one more than a question. I have these conversations with people on a daily basis. So with this one, it was around lifting weights all the time. That was kind of her go-to training, was weights, but she wasn't feeling like she was getting in shape from it. And I think the problem here was that everything else was abandoned. This has happened 2 or 3 times recently, actually, to be fair. Everybody loves lifting weights once they get into it. I love lifting weights. Hey, how are you? Ed, is it? Yeah, I love lifting weights. Look, a lot of the female clients I work with now, they all love lifting weights. It's fantastic. A lot of male clients I love with lifting weights. It's just once you get into it, you do enjoy it. But the problem for a lot of the clients I've come across recently is that they've abandoned everything else. They're not doing any cardio work. So I had a few weight loss clients who were only lifting weights. And I say weight loss clients as in that they had weight to lose. It wasn't a case of that they were just lifting weights, but they were fairly lean. It wasn't that they had weight to lose. So what effectively had happened was that they were lifting weights all year round, but they weren't doing any cardio stuff, and their calories were too high as well. So they were... Well, listen, cheers, Sinead. Good to hear from you. Yeah, so what I found with some of these clients was their calories were high because they were lifting heavy, so they were lifting to fuel that. But in many cases, their calories were actually even gone too high for that. So the calories were too high first and foremost. But the second thing was that they weren't doing any cardio work at all. So I look at this in terms of more experienced lifters. What they do effectively and what I do myself is periodize your training. So during the winter, I would typically be looking at gaining muscle. So I'm lifting quite heavy, calories a wee bit higher. I still do a bit of cardio work, but I don't do as much. And then come spring, summer, that's when I'm doing a shredder, that's when I'm doing a cut. So if I know maybe I'm going on holidays in June or something like that, I might target 8-12 weeks before that. And during that time, my training changes. So the weights are still in there, but I'm lifting lighter weights because I'm bringing my calories down as well. So I can't fuel really heavy lifts anyway. So what I'll do is I'll bring the calories down and lift a little bit lighter. So it might go like the light weights at 10 to 12 reps, and then I'll up the cardio work. And this is effectively what a lot of these clients I came across weren't doing. They were doing the same training all year round. They were going in doing their squats and doing their deadlifts and doing their bench presses, but it was year round. So the cutting phase where the cardio stuff comes in for me was never coming in for them. Okay, so I hope that's making sense. What is best exercise for tummy if you have a bad back? Still here and listening. Patricia, do you know what I'm going to say to you on that one? You need to watch the video we did 2 weeks ago. So on that one, I was just going into the point of with stomach exercises, you can do them till the cows come home, but calorie deficit is the most important thing of all. So I went through that in fairly in depth about 2 weeks ago. So if you just scroll down the page a little bit, have a watch of that. It's all covered in that week 1 video, so you'll grab it there. So yeah, that's more or less me for this evening, guys. Unless you have anything else you want to question me on, throw them up. I'll stay for about 2 minutes and then I'm jumping off. I want to get out in the fresh air again. Everybody getting the steps up these days? How are your home workouts going? Are you enjoying them? I'm flat out with home workouts myself. Do you know what, guys? I am amazed at how much I've enjoyed them because I actually thought I'd hate it, being honest with you. I started doing live workouts for my clients. It's brilliant. We've I think about 27 people in the group at the minute all training together. Cheers, Patricia. And I decided I was going to do it for them to keep them training. It wasn't really for myself. But I discovered that the best way I could do it was actually to do the workouts with them. That was the only way that a lot of them would actually do it. If I left it and gave them the workouts, they weren't doing them on their own. So I started training with it as well. Thinking I'd hate it because I love lifting weights. But I'm really enjoying it. And I think I'm enjoying it because it's a different stimulus on the body. And I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago as well. You can get so used to doing the same training over and over and over. When you change it up, you find that the body starts responding again. And that's what started happening for me. But I'm actually really enjoying the community aspect of it as well. And everybody just logging in at the same time, doing their little training session each evening and hammering it out for half an hour. But it's good. It's different, but love the home workouts. Yeah, for sure. I'm the same, Audrey. Yeah, I didn't think I'd enjoy it as much as I have to be honest. I didn't, but yeah, it's going well. Anything else before I finish up, guys? Is that it? Just to let you know, my online course is starting again on the 11th of May. Out walking every day, loads of steps. That's the job. Same as that. I'm actually hitting about 15,000 steps a day, all within my 2K zone. Yeah, online course starts again the 11th of May, guys. Places are limited if anybody wants to jump on that. Food plans, training programs, mindset work, personal development, accountability, support, everything you need. That's what we do with the online course. So yeah, I think that's a wrap, guys. I think that is a wrap. Can I go? Have you any more questions? Great advice this evening. Cheers, Valerie. I appreciate that. Guys, I just want to say to you as well, 99% of the questions I'm getting are how to. It's how to do this, how to do that. It's food, it's training, it's weight loss. I love the personal development stuff, guys. I love the mindset stuff. If you have any questions on that, you need any help with that, shoot them on. That's what I'm here for. So we're not limited to just kind of the simple old plenty of steps, but can't get rid of this. IT band pain in leg, hip. Oh, nasty. Physio, Sharon. It's the only way in that. I had a similar problem myself a couple of years back and it took a little bit of time and it was frustrating, but a good physio makes a world of difference. They gave me exercises to do, I think it was like 3 times a day or something. Took up a little bit of time, but it does the job. It's like everything, when you actually commit to doing it, it does make a difference. I think a lot of the time people are kind of doing them once a day and thinking, sure, it'll do. When you commit to doing what you're told, it tends to work. But yeah, I would definitely, if it's not solving itself or if it hasn't eased off at this stage, or if you haven't seen a physio already, it might be the way to go. Loving the home workouts, and the weather is making it easy to get out and get the steps in. Thank God. Good to hear, Alan. Thanks, man. Great stuff, Sinead. I know you're the same as me. You love your weights as well. Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard not being in the gym. Do you know what, Sinead? I am finding with the home workouts, I am lean as fook at the moment. Excuse my language. Now, I have lost a bit of muscle mass. I have, but once we get back in lifting, we'll get that back again pretty quick. You know, so it's nothing to stress about. But it's brilliant to mix up the training sometimes as well. You know, just to change it, challenge the body in a different way. I'm just using it as a cutting phase. That's literally all I'm doing. I'm kind of looking at it in that way. And then when we get lifting, we get back in the gym and get at it again. Okay, all good? Can I go and get my steps up now? We finished? Thanks a million, guys. Thanks for joining in. Appreciate it. Yeah, so online course 11th of May, and also we're doing our live workouts 3 times a week. If people want to get involved, give me a shout. Other than that, I'm going. I'm getting the steps up. Leave you and love you guys. Talk soon. Cheers.